So it doesn't look like it's, the discounts is as good on the home as it is on the auto, but it still dropped it by a little bit. So it was at 980, and now it's at 969. So total, we're saving her like maybe like $50 a year or so.
Total?
Something like that. Let's see, 826 minus 788. Yeah, we're saving her 38 on the auto side and then 11 on the home. So
Okay.
yeah, so $49 a year.
It's not a lot of savings, what is that per month? It's what?
49 divided by 12. It's about $4 a month.
$4 a month. Okay.
That's the thing with the obviously with the discount being a percentage. It's like these are both really cheap policies.
Sure.
But the discount's not going to be as good. But obviously, if it's the bigger home, where the premium's closer to like $3,000, same, or like it's a multi-line auto where the premium's higher, then the discount kind of
carries more weight.
Pulls its weight a little more.
Sure. Well, and that for me is like when I'm running, because how many people do you have on this list that you have?
Oh gosh, I mean, I have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. I have like 6 pages with like, I mean, you can see.
Yeah, you got a ton. So like.
This isn't all of them. This is just the stack that I printed out for myself.
Sure.
We kind of divided them up.
Well, think about it this way. Like you've got probably 300 names on there, let's say. I don't know, maybe less.
At least.
But like this one, I'm almost trying to like work this list to find the ones where I know it's like, okay, this discount carries a lot of weight, and so I want to call those people first, right? This one I may not call right away, but it's still good. Let's kind of talk through it. Is she paying monthly?
She's escrowed on the home, and then, sorry.
You're good.
And then I'm assuming she's paying monthly on the auto. Oh, she pays annually.
Pays annually on the auto. Okay, so this one might be a little bit different. Right?
And I will say, so when I pulled up that change just to add the life discount, then like I said, it auto-populated the life quote on the side, and it was like the generic quote was popping up at like $10 a month. So if you factor in the $4 savings, so it's really only going to be like $6 extra a month.
So okay, so let's assume that you call her, because I want to move on to another name after this.
Yeah.
Before I even call her, I know that it's like I just need to bring value to $6 a month.
Right.
Which she pays annually, so I mirror that. So it's going to be $72 a year is all.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. And so, what would make life insurance make sense for Bailey in her situation?
Obviously, with the cars being paid off, I feel like the home is going to be where you're.
The home, right?
The home.
I agree. 100% agree. So. When did this home renew? Because I don't want to just call and be like, hey, Bailey, we can get you life insurance to pay off your house. Like, she's going to be like, I'm good. Because she doesn't know you for home and she doesn't know you for life, right? She knows you for her home and auto.
Yeah, it looks like the home just renewed in May.
Perfect. So I just need an excuse to call Bailey. So I might say, hey, Bailey, it's just Austin with Mark Bailey Agency. I'm calling on your homeowner's policy. Looks like it renewed in May. I've noticed a few ways to improve your coverage and decrease your cost. Do you have a couple minutes?
Right, yeah, that definitely makes sense.
Okay, because imagine if I were to call and say, hey Bailey, it's Coulter with Mark Bailey Agency. I'm calling because you don't have life insurance for your house, and I wanted to call and give you a quote. Can you see how she could be like, I mean, if we don't catch her in the perfect mood, and maybe she's not the type of person that, I mean, she's 25 years old. What do you think she might be thinking about life insurance?
She doesn't need it.
I don't need it. I'm young. That's for old people, right?
You'll live forever.
Exactly. So we don't want to lead with that. I want to connect it to her current policies and almost treat it like a service call. But give her a reason to want to engage with me on the phone rather than try to get me off the phone. And that reason was, hey, your homeowner's policy just renewed, and I've noticed a few ways to possibly improve coverage and decrease costs. Do you have a couple minutes?
Right.
You can imagine her saying, oh yeah, I have a couple minutes, okay? So now I want to talk about the homeowner's policy for a minute. I want to say, hey, renewed. I've got coverage at $187,000 for the structure. So if something happened, it were to burn to the ground, that's how much coverage you would have to get it rebuilt. First question, do you feel like that's enough? Right? Talk to him about the coverage on the home, and she'll talk to him. And then look, now we're talking about the home. Now I say, hey, now just to confirm, I'm showing that you have a mortgage on this. Is that still correct, or have you paid it off? Oh, I still have that. Great. With ABC Bank? Yes, that's great. Awesome. I'll make sure that ABC Bank has everything that they need. That way they're not like bugging you about insurance. Like I know they probably do. I just want to double check on that on our end for you. Now, about how much do you have left on that mortgage? Oh, I owe about $100,000. Okay, good deal. Now we're talking about the mortgage. Now guess what we can do? We can kind of seed some doubt a little bit into there might be a problem here with this mortgage. And so now we want to talk about, okay, so, and you could make a recommendation here. I mean, it's only $6 a month that we're trying to sell, right? And so you could say, hey, so, what a lot of people like to have that have mortgages is mortgage protection. Essentially, if you were to pass away prematurely, this house gets paid off. That way it's not left behind for, mom and dad or whoever to deal with, but you can just kind of pass that on and they don't have to have this added financial burden. The nice thing is that there is a little bit of a discount that you'd get on the home and auto by having this. Let me look at that and you can tell me what you think. See how I naturally got there? Right? It kind of led with the service call. I'm calling on your homeowners, confirm a few things, get talking about the mortgage, and then talk about, hey, if, and in this situation, I mean, what would happen to the house if Bailey died? Well,
right.
She's single, right? Like, she'd be like, oh, they'd be able to sell it. Okay, so this one might be a little bit different, but imagine if she had a spouse with kids.
Right.
We can kind of connect that. With this one, I would almost just make an offer and say, hey, a lot of people that have homeowners policies also have this mortgage protection because it pays off the house in the event that, heaven forbid, you pass away prematurely. I'm going to look at that for you. Right. You can tell me what you think. Boom, jump in. Nice thing is this actually gives you a discount on your home and auto, so it helps a little bit there. But where you owe $100,000, we can actually get you $100,000 in coverage, and it's fairly inexpensive. It looks like it would come back to about $70 a year or so after everything said and done. See that? That makes sense a little bit. Okay, let's do another name. Was this helpful? A little kind of walk you through.
Definitely. Let me get one pulled up here.
Because this is like this, I would make time like every day to call on this list for like maybe start with 20 minutes a day. Because I'm telling you, dude, like if you could get through 10 calls a day, what if you were to close 2 of the 10? Dude, that's bonkers. You do 10 life a week like this.
Right, definitely. All right, so I got Madeline Ashball pulled up. She's another home and auto.
Madeline, how old's Madeline?
Let's see, similar age. I believe she's like 26, 27. Let's see.
All right, I'm back. Sorry.
You're good. We're going through this list of Erie customers, and we're kind of going through like specific scenarios to talk through strategies.
Yeah,
so
that's fine.
Go ahead.
No, I had a guy who I've been chasing for like the better part of 7 months.
Hey, we like that.
To get his insurance. He's one of those types who he would appear and say he wanted things, and then I'd be like, okay, and then I get everything done, and then he'd disappear for the 3 or 4 months. He finally walked in, so I'm like, no, drop everything.
No, you have to be available for those. I love it.
But yeah, she's 26.
So Madeline is 26. Is she married, single?
This one's actually kind of funny because this is my brother's girlfriend.
Okay.
She just happened to pop up on the list. I was like, oh, I know she has home and auto with Erie, so I'll just do that one.
Okay. So it's your brother's girlfriend.
Married, but they will be soon. They live together.
They live together. Okay. What does she have? What policies?
She has home and auto.
What's the year of the car?
It's a 2021.
2021. What's the car? Sorry.
Oh, so it's a Nissan Kicks.
Nissan Kicks, okay. And then she's got home. Does she have a loan on the Kicks? Mortgage on the home?
She's definitely got a mortgage on the home. Let me check on the car. See, she's got a. Doesn't look like she has a lien holder listed. So.
Okay.
But I'm assuming she does. She probably just didn't get added to the policy.
Let's assume that she does for this example. Okay, so she's got a loan, she's got a mortgage. What's the value on her home that we have listed?
Let me check. Looks like 230,000.
Cool. Okay. And then what would like how long has she had the home? Do you know?
Oh, maybe 2 years.
Okay, so let's say that she still owes right around 200,000 on it. Okay, and let's say that on the Nissan she owes like 20. Okay, now I'm gonna pick one of these instead of trying to cover both with this type of a call, right? So whether you choose to do the home, paying off the home, or covering the loan on the Kicks, I don't know that it matters. Just find one that you want to start with. Now, how much would can you run like a quote of like $100,000 or even like a $50,000 policy and one that's 200?
Yeah, let me.
We're making Austin work today, Michaela.
Yeah.
Hey, yeah.
Okay. So, it will actually print me off. Well, no. See, it's telling me that the life insurance could be as low as $14 a month, but it's not giving me an actual base amount. But I can get that. Give me 1 second.
And is she paying monthly?
Yep.
Cool.
On the auto, the home's escrow.
Sure.
All right. All right.
You're good. You're good. So Michaela, this is kind of what I do before I make calls on lists. Is like I want as much information as I can. So that's why I'm asking like, what policies do they have? Do they have a loan? Do they have a mortgage? What would it save to have life insurance?
No, that makes sense because you need to make sure that you have as much ammo as you can possibly.
Exactly. So then I'm prepared with like some sort of strategy.
No, I remember that from when I would sell Medicare. It was all about having as much information as possible, which most of the time was barely anything. You were going in blind, but
sure.
All about having the most information possible because a single medication could ruin the whole thing.
Sure.
I got a quote pulled up here.
Perfect.
Let's see. So for 20-year term, 100,000 would be $10 a month.
Jeez, it's freaking nuts.
For a 20-year term with 250,000 of coverage, it would be $16.79 a month.
Okay, this is so solid. So now, one last thing: what does the discount save on the car and home?
No.
This is a good one that I can kind of show you, and it'll apply to every one of these.
So for the auto, it would save for I'm bad at math. So it's over $86 a year on the auto policy.
Okay.
Let me put the discount on the home and see what that does.
Is that $9 a month?
Divided by 7.
7. So 7 a month, dude. That's it right there. I love it.
$10 a month on the auto, and then see what the home is. So basically, seems like the auto or the home discount is consistently like just taking $10 off the price because this one's a different, but it's like a percentage on the auto, but seems like a flat rate on the home.
$10 a year.
Yeah, $10 a year. So basically 10 divided.
We got like $8 a month roughly.
Yeah, so $8 a month in savings.
Now,
so like a $16. So basically, you're selling a life policy that's going to cost them $8 extra a month.
Sure.
Than we're already paying.
Sure. If we have the approach to pay off the mortgage, right? So let's role play this. Okay. So I've got Madeline. She's got a 2021 Nissan Kicks. I'm going to call. She's got a homeowners with a mortgage. If we were to do a $100,000 policy, $10 a month, $250,000 policy, $16 a month. And that's a 20-year term. That's instant issue. They don't have to do any underwriting or anything, which is freaking awesome. And then it saves her about $7 a month, we're going to call it, on her auto. Okay? Mm-hmm. And so let's role play this, and I'll kind of show you what I would do. So, ring.
Okay. Am I being Maddie?
Yeah, if you be Maddie, that'd be perfect.
Yeah. Okay, perfect. Hello?
Hey, Maddie, it's just Coulter here with Mark Bailey Agency. How's it going?
Good, how are you?
Doing awesome. Hey, reason I was calling, and let me actually back up. I didn't get enough information from you yet. When was the last time that the Nissan Kicks renewed?
Oh, that just took place in January.
In January. So it's coming up for renewal in August or July, right?
Well, it's a year policy.
A year policy, gotcha. And then the homeowner's policy, when did that renew?
January.
January. Okay, perfect. So yeah, it's just Coulter with Mark Bailey Agency calling on your Nissan Kicks. It looks like it renewed this past January, but I just wanted to confirm a few things. I noticed a few ways to possibly help improve coverage and decrease cost. Do you have a couple minutes?
Yeah, I can talk. I'm on my lunch.
Awesome. Well, this shouldn't take too long. So on your Nissan Kicks, I'm showing we've got coverages set at 50,000, 100,000, 50,000. Does that sound right?
For the Nissan Kicks?
For the Kicks, yeah. For your liability coverages?
Oh, for liability. I think she's at 100, 300.
Okay. You're at 100, 300, 100 for liability. Does that sound right?
Mm-hmm. Yep.
Cool. And then Awesome. And then we've got $500 deductibles. We'll just assume. Okay. Yeah. Awesome. So it looks like that looks pretty good. Do you have any questions on those coverages?
No, I don't think so. That's what you feel like is appropriate.
Yeah, for sure. Now, let's pause there. Like, we can dive in. We could do a quick coverage explanation of the liability if we want. But my purpose here is to kind of get to the life conversation. So now I'm going to say, and then with that Kicks, I'm not showing here, do we have a loan on that, or have you paid that off?
Yeah, I actually do have a loan through my bank for like $15,000.
For $15,000, okay. And then what bank are you using? I want to make sure they're listed on your policy just so that they don't end up bugging you for not having insurance.
I'm using Wells Fargo.
Wells Fargo, cool. I'm gonna reach out to Wells Fargo. Just make sure that they have everything on their end so they don't bug you. They don't ever end up like charging you for insurance that you actually have with us. So I'll make sure that we're getting ahead of that. Now with that, $15,000 loan, one thing that a lot of people have with us is like a life benefit to pay that off in the event that, heaven forbid something happened to you and you were to pass away prematurely. Like that way, this debt's not going to family to have to, potentially deal with. That way they don't have to have like an added financial burden with this loan, like on top of trying to deal with losing you. The cool thing is we can actually get that for you. We can actually get you enough coverage to pay off that, the kicks. And, it gives you a little discount to have that. It looks like it would hardly change your bill if we did have that in place. It would be about, it would take your bill from like $250 a month to about $253.
Oh, okay. Yeah, that's definitely something I could think about. I'll have to talk to my partner about that to see what he thinks.
Sure. Yeah, absolutely. Talking with your partner, what do you feel like your partner would say, or how would your partner feel about having this paid off in the event that they, you passed away prematurely, so they don't have to deal with picking up those payments?
Yeah, I mean, I'm sure he'd definitely be on board. We just like to run any financial things by the other before we decide, just for brevity's sake.
Sure. So let's pause there. I mean, we could go with objection after objection after objection. Right. The idea is maybe I didn't build enough value.
Can I ask a question? Just basic curiosities, because I know
Sure.
how my relationship works. I don't know how yours works or Austin's, but I know personally for me, it wouldn't even be like an objection per se. Like if someone were to call me, like my agent or whatever, if someone were to call me, they could be offering me almost anything, and there's not a world in which I would make any sort of like financial decision like this without at least running it by my husband. If for no other reason than because like it's his money too, like we share money, and it would be weird. Like if my husband did that, I would also be kind of weirded out. Like, why did you do this without at least like running it past me? So is that an objection there's like a way to like genuinely circumnavigate if people, like, I don't know how most people are, but I mean, at least most people I know have a similar setup with their spouse or partner, where at the very minimum, don't like go purchase vehicles or go purchase random policies without at least running it past me. How do you kind of avoid that objection happening?
Sure.
I guess. Because I know from a personal perspective, like, I don't know that any agent could say anything to me to get me to buy something without running it past my husband.
Even if it was like $3 difference.
Right.
Probably, if I'm being honest.
Yeah, that's interesting. So I think, like, I would never have to talk to my wife. That's just me. But I also think it's just an easy way out of having to make a decision. Because how likely do you think Madeline's going to be at actually going to talk to your brother?
Yeah. I don't know. Probably not that likely. She'll probably just forget knowing her.
Probably forget, right? Like, the people, I don't know. Like, and I can see if it's like a big, like, we're talking a lot of money that they're adding per month. But I think getting ahead of this objection, like, if you can read, like, you can see on here, is your brother listed as a driver, or is it just her?
It's just her. I've already had this conversation that they should be on the same policy since they share an address, but
sure.
They're
like, I wouldn't know that I would get a spouse or partner objection if I don't see that there's another name listed on the policy, right? And so in this situation, if she gives me that objection, I'll say like, yeah, for sure, you can do that. I'm just trying to help her play it out in her mind, right? How does partner feel about getting coverage to pay off the kicks if you passed away prematurely, so partner doesn't have to be in a position where they now have to pick up that monthly payment, deal with having this car and this loan on top of trying to deal with losing you. And they're going to say, well, I think that they would support it. Well, I just want to talk with them first, or whatever they say. Great. Here's another question that I could ask, right? Okay, so let's say that you go to partner and partner doesn't want you to get this in place, and then God forbid something happens to you, Madeline, and there's no coverage in place for partner. What would partner do then? Well, I guess they'd have to pick up that payment. And I guess what would that look like? Do they have another vehicle that they're paying for, or what does that look like right now? Right? So I'm just kind of trying to be logical here a little bit and play it out. Like, look, trying to empower Madeline to make a decision. Like, these are her policies, right? And so sometimes that will help Michaela, but I think if you see that you can see that they're married before you call them, you could get ahead of the objection by simply, before you're quoting a price, You could say, so how does partner feel, how does spouse feel about having coverage in place that would pay off the house, pay off the car in the event that like you passed away prematurely? How do they feel? That makes sense? So you can kind of get ahead of that a little bit. But I think honestly, like in this situation, I mean, Madeline's 26. She's young. We already kind of talked about this, right?
This is definitely something, but a 26-year-old are going to be kind of difficult. I mean more like the people who actually like are going to be our target demographic for actually selling life insurance, people in their 30s and 40s. Yeah. I feel like most of them are married. Most of them probably have kids. And most of them, I feel like if they're making anything like this, they're going to probably, like, that's going to be their first objection. And it's more like, how do you get past that if you know, if they have their spouse on the policy, if they have a home that they obviously have a co-applicant with, so they own the home together. Like, all of this is together. Obviously, like, they have a lot of financial things wrapped up in each other. I can see how that's like a genuine thing that will come up, that they're going to be like, what do you do at that point?
How many objections have you got around life insurance with this that you can think of? Like, have you done like a lot of life insurance conversations to get these objections, or is this something that you're like, well, this is an objection I would give?
It's an objection I get on different stuff, so I assume that this would just translate.
Yeah, I would just don't assume, just go try it. You might be surprised that people just might start saying yes to you, right? My whole approach, and the reason I'm going through this with you guys is like, I want to know their whole demographic. Like, what's their name? What policies they have? Do they have loan, mortgages? What's it going to save them? I'm trying to make an offer that is so good that the customer has a hard time telling me no. Like, I want it to be like an irresistible offer, like an easy yes. Does that make sense?
Yeah.
That a lot of people, I would say, don't worry about that objection until you start getting it a lot. Right? Because everything I'm teaching you guys, I'm telling you, like, you won't get objections like you think you might, just by how we're presenting it to people, right? We're not leading with life insurance. We prevent a lot of objections with doing that. We don't lead with the discount. We prevent a lot of objections doing that. We're leading with service. Like, I'm calling you because of this policy, for whatever reason that is. Do a little review with them, but then bring life in to where it feels like an extension of that policy, where it feels like a complimentary coverage, but then make them an offer, explain what it does for them and how it solves a problem that they maybe didn't think about. Give them the offer. I think you'll be surprised that you prevent a lot of these objections from happening in the first place. But I wouldn't play this game like trying to like figure out what I need to say to every single objection until you start running these, calling these people, and until you start getting those objections. Because I'm telling you, I look back at when I was selling all this that I wasn't getting objections. They just weren't coming up, right? And so that's kind of my take, Michaela. Like, we're really trying to make an offer on the front end that's really like an easy, no-brainer offer for people to say yes to. And so I don't know that you'll get a lot of these objections. You might, but I wouldn't worry about them until you first try this. Does that make sense?
That makes sense, yeah.
And the other thing too is I believe that we sell how we buy. So if you are the type of person, Michaela, that says that you want to talk to your spouse and there's nothing that I could tell you to kind of get you to buy and not talk to your spouse, I think you're going to have a hard time overcoming that objection. Because like I'll be honest, like I don't, like that's a simple decision for me. I'm like, okay, there's more energy and time on me wasting trying to talk to my wife about this $3 payment. And like I can see how it would be good. Yeah, let's do it. You know what I'm saying? And so not everybody's going to be giving you that objection because they're not thinking that way. But great questions.
That makes sense.
Great questions, right? And I think it's being able to read the situation, right? Like if you're on the phone call with me and I'm giving you like, you know, vibes, I'm bringing up my wife, or like you can't really feel that I'm engaged and you sense that that objection might come up, before you give the price, just ask that question. So how does Lacey feel about having the mortgage paid off if your income was no longer there to support her? How does Lacey feel about having your truck paid off so she's never in a position where she'd have to pick up that payment? Be in a position where she might have to sell it, list it, schedule all these test drives, like on top of trying to deal with losing you. How does she feel about having that paid off so she wouldn't have to worry about it? Right? And then you might be like, oh, well, yeah, Lacey, I mean, I'm sure she'd feel good about that. Boom. Now we can kind of move on a little bit. Does that help a little?
Yeah.
Okay. Good question though. Like, I love it. But hopefully that helps you. Like, I'm telling you guys, like, objections don't have to come up. If our delivery is like well thought out, we're prepared, we have our ducks in a row before we call, and we're very, strategic with positioning life to do a certain thing with their current policies, especially with how Erie will give you those discounts and how honestly cheap these policies are. Like, guys, we're talking like under $20 a month for a lot of these. People have that money. That's, not a huge decision for a lot of people. For some it might be, but it's all about how we deliver it to them as well, right? Now, the other thing that, like, if they're adamant they want to talk to their spouse, I might push them a little bit too, and I might say, look, I'm not even sure that we can get this for you. But assuming we can, I mean, this is what it would be. The next step would be just to submit an application. And honestly, like, if we submit the application and you go home and you talk to Lacey and she's like totally against this and it's the worst idea ever, there's no strings attached. Like, we can just withdraw this application. But again, like, I don't even know if we can help you. And so the next step is to just see if we can. And so assuming that you did want this, who do you want this money to go to if you were to pass away prematurely? And I'm kind of just advancing this cell forward. Does that make sense?
Yeah. Because
here's the thing is, like, it might just be a knee-jerk response. Right? And sometimes we think that when we call these people with an offer like this, that we're going to get them to a place where it's like, okay, Austin, what's the next step so I can get this policy in place? But at the end of the day, that's not going to happen. People aren't taking the initiative, and so we need to lead the horse to the water. We need to help guide them to the next step and help them make that decision. And I'm telling you, if they really don't want to do it, they're going to tell you, and then you just move on to the next name.
Yeah. Honestly, when I was role playing as Maddie and I said that, it wasn't even like I was trying to give you a hurdle. It was just like, that's just what, like, seemed like a very natural way to end the conversation. Because, I feel like a lot of people are going to want to try to, get off the phone quickly, especially when they weren't expecting the call.
So let's walk through it again. So you're like, oh yeah, sounds okay. I just need to talk to my partner before we make a decision. And then I say, so what's your brother's name?
Adam.
So how does Adam feel about, having coverage in place to pay off the kicks, like if you were to pass away prematurely, so he wouldn't have to pick up that debt?
Yeah, I mean, I'm sure he would be. I'm sure he'd definitely be on board with it because he doesn't like having to deal with any of that stressful stuff, anyways.
Sure. Now, let's say that you go to him, and you're like, "Hey, Coulter talked to me about this coverage to pay off the kicks. It's like, $3 a month difference," and he's against it. He's like, "Nope, I think we're good." You don't end up getting coverage in place. And then, God forbid something did happen to you. And now Adam's stuck with that, $15,000 loan. Like, what would Adam do then?
I don't know, probably like set fire to my grave or something.
Fire to your grave. I hear ya. Well, here's the thing, like, Madeline, I don't even know that we can get this for you. Like, you'd have to qualify. But like, assuming that we did, I mean, it'd be about $3 a month. And so, knowing that we don't really know yet, the next step for most people is just to submit an application and see. They could come back and say, we can't do this for you. They could come back and say, hey, yeah, here you go. We don't really know yet. And so what I would say we can do is get this application submitted, right? No strings attached. And, if you go home tonight, you talk with Adam and he's like, no, babe, I don't like that. Like, get that off. We don't want that. Call me up. We can withdraw the application, no strings attached. But then if you go and talk to him, he's like, oh yeah, sounds awesome. We'll already have an answer by the time you have that. And so, boom, I'm moving on, right? And if Madeline's like, no, Coulter, I don't want it, I'll be like, not a problem, talk to Adam.
I wouldn't know that either.
You know, and then I would then go to like sell the exit.
Yeah, but she used to.
Right? Where I would say, okay, hey, so Madeline, what's your time frame on getting back to me just so I can make sure that I'm available?
Yeah, I'll talk to him when we're off work. So,
Okay.
I should be able to give you an answer tomorrow.
Give you an answer tomorrow. Awesome. And so tomorrow, I mean, would around this time work again? Around 11:30. Would that be okay?
Yep.
Okay.
Fine.
Perfect. There we go. Right. I want to at least set a date and time to have a call back, because what it does for Madeline is it like sets the expectation. Coulter is going to be calling, so it creates urgency for her to actually talk with Adam and be ready with an answer at 11:30. And she knows that I'm calling, so it's not like she's going to be, surprised when I call her. Does that make sense?
Right.
Okay.
Yeah.
And so I'm telling you, I like to ask, how does Adam feel about Result having coverage to pay off the kicks so that he wouldn't have to be stuck with that debt, paying that, be in a position where he'd have to try to get this thing sold, on top of trying to deal with losing you, right? Well, I think he'd be in support. And then I like to play another scenario. So, okay, so let's say you go to him, he tells you no, God forbid something happened to you, what would he do then? And then they're kind of playing it out, and it's like, oh, okay, do I really need to talk to him? And then it's like, okay, here's what most people do. I like to do a pullback. I'm not sure that we can get this for you, because is that fair? Not everybody qualifies, right? I don't even know we can do this, but assuming we could, it would bring your bill to $253. Hardly change it. What most people will do is we just submit an application to see, and then let's say you go home to Adam and he's totally against it, we can just pull this application and no strings attached, no harm, no foul. And so that's what I'd say we do. If something did happen to you, who do you want this $100,000 to go to? It's kind of like a buy-in question, or I could trial close. Well, I want it to go to Adam. Awesome. Now I know I can finish the application. And you'd be surprised how many people will do that. But again, it's not like Madeline's ever going to be like, Austin, please just write that for me. That's so good. What do I need to do next? You might run into that every once in a while, but most people need to be guided and led to the next step. Does that make sense?
Yeah. I have a question that's kind of in a different direction. I know we're kind of out of time, but just so say it's a husband and wife situation. They own a house together, that kind of thing, and you're calling the wife and you're explaining this coverage of how it could, pay out the home if you pass away prematurely. So how are you presenting it in that situation to where you would need the coverage for both spouses?
I would start with one, usually
okay.
the breadwinner, right? So if I'm talking to the wife and it's the homemaker, I would talk about coverage for Coulter, because if Coulter's income goes away, it's like the wife is like, yeah, I'm screwed. And then after that, then say, hey, after I get that soft commitment and getting something in place, I'd say, hey, now let's say that something happened to you. Would Coulter be able to be okay financially, take time away from work to now take care of the kids, or pay for daycare? Would he be in a position where he'd be able to do that comfortably?
Right.
Or would that maybe be kind of a stressful situation for him on top of trying to deal with losing you?
Right. Yeah, I was just asking just because obviously for the life insurance to really work properly as far as paying off debts and stuff, then it makes sense for both spouses to be covered. But obviously it could probably be pretty overwhelming. It's we need to get it for you and your spouse and probably on your kids too.
Yes.
And
So, and that's the end goal, right?
Right.
But if we try to do the end goal too soon, can you see how it could cause analysis paralysis, where it's this is a huge decision? Because it probably is. It's harder to decide to do all of that up front, but imagine if you were to get something in place for Coulter, right? And then gauge, maybe right then and there, you could ask that question, so what happens if something happened to you, Lacey? What does that look like for Coulter? And maybe she's like, well, let's just do it for both. Boom, move on. But maybe you gauge that Lacey's like, oh no, and it's kind of giving some resistance, not a problem. You know that you're going to maybe meet with them at the issuance of the policy where you can go for it again there. Does that make sense?
Right. Yeah, that makes sense.
Good question. So again, it's the idea of we want to keep it simple. We want to make an offer that's really hard to say no to, that's easy to say yes to. We want to remove all sort of work so that it's an easy decision for them. And then we're going to build upon that after it issues.
Gotcha.
At least that's my approach. It's worked well.
Right.
Just because, think about it this way. People are streamlined thinkers. You guys are only helping them with home and auto. Anything outside of that, it's really easy to just tell you no to, especially if it's like this big decision that they have to think about. So we're trying to do a lot.
Right.
Great question. Michaela, do you have something
No.
before we end? Okay. So here's my challenge. Take 20 minutes a day, call on that list, and just start trying to drum up some life business. I'm telling you, if you do the 20, because it sounds like for me it's a numbers thing right now, because with the whole Erie thing, like kind of been put things on the back burner. I think it's just let's make time every day to call on this thing. And I mean, you got so many people on those lists, you're gonna run into people where it's like, holy crap, we can actually get them this coverage that actually solves a big problem for them, and they save money. That's bonkers. And a higher level approach for me is like, I've only got 8 hours in the day, and we've got a lot of names to call. I want to call the names that are slam dunks first. And so as I'm going throughout this list, honestly, like I probably would have called Madeline because it's pretty easy, but I probably would save the Bailey one that we looked at, Austin, for later. And I go the next name until I find one that I'm like, okay, we got a lot of leverage here because we can save them money and still get them better coverage. Because there's a lot on that list, I guarantee it, right?
Right.
So, Michaela, are you working this list too, or not really?
I've never seen this before in my life, so I have no
Okay,
idea.
okay. So
I've
you're,
never seen this list.
I think yours, Michaela, you're going to be talking to a lot of customers, right? If they're Erie customers and they don't have life, I would just try to create opportunities from those calls.
Yeah, and it's been a lot of like my main kind of